Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Got Your Six TV. Really excited today to have a guest on that's really focusing on a kind of a core challenge area for our veterans. And it, quite frankly, is certainly 100% unacceptable that we have the homeless problems that we have for our nation's veterans and some of their families. And so we wanted to have a guest on that's taking that problem head on in the DC, Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia area, and have her talk about what her organization, Veterans on the Rise, is doing to help solve that problem. Maybe share a few sort of lessons learned along the way about what they're doing over at Veterans on the Rise that maybe could help others that are in different regions. And also talk about her month of May is blowing up with all kinds of stuff, all kinds of activities and events that if you're in the DC area, we'd love for you guys to come in and take a look at it. So with that said, I wanted to welcome our guest, Melanie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Really happy to be here.
Sure. So, Melanie, I forgot to mention this on the intro is we'll maybe get to it later, depending upon time-wise. She actually got to work in the White House for a period of time. I've driven by the White House 480,000 times, but I've never been in the White House. So I'm a little bit jealous of that, Melanie.
Oh, it was an honor to be there. And how many people can actually say they've done that?
Not many. Well, I can drive by it in the summer, but not many people get to go to it. So, Melanie, let's talk about your time serving in the Army. You were actually in broadcasting, right? In the Army?
Yes. So my MOS was a 46 Romeo. I actually joined after having been a management consultant for a few years. So I enlisted and I was serving at basically telling the soldier stories. Anyone from the private level all the way up to the general officer level, telling their stories, going on trips with important folks to make sure that the stories got conveyed right back to our units, as well as the general public in some instances.
So you've got plenty of experience kind of doing what I'm doing now, right? But you were doing it on the inside. For those folks that have a 46 Romeo for a Moss, what tips would you give them about broadcasting inside the DoD umbrella?
Well, I would say that one of the things they did when I joined, we were just converting over to digital. And so they were trying to teach these broadcasters to do everything in front of and behind the camera. And that means being a one-person production crew. And my advice would be to keep those skills up and to recognize that they're very transferable. You can use them as a broadcaster, you can use them as a producer, you can use them as a marketer. And even in management consulting, I was able to use some of my broadcast skills when it came to communications roles that I had and conveying messages, command information, if you will, to corporate as well as federal clients.
That's a great tip that you just brought up there, Melanie, because the transferability, the translation going from one side to the other sometimes isn't as easily identifiable, and that's caused some challenges for folks that transition out. But I think one of the things you brought up, if you stay specific to broadcasting, know the front of the camera, behind the camera, know both, right? Know how that works.
That's right.
But just the concept of communications isn't limited to broadcast, right? You can take that out. Every corporate job needs folks that have good communication skills, whether you work in the government or a large company. Every company needs that. So that's a great tip.
Absolutely. And you'd be surprised how many people are brilliant, but don't really know what to do in front of the camera. So even like on your day-to-day, you might walk into a room and you might see people taking a photo or getting ready for an interview and they need a little assistance. And that sparks a conversation that may turn into some kind of collaboration opportunity.
Well, that's great. I don't know why the hell WJLA doesn't hire you like right now. Let's get this tape
Let's
to them.
Go. I'm ready.
So let's talk a little bit about, so when you transitioned out of service, right? 200-something thousand folks do it every year. Mm-hmm. Some do it okay. Some, have some challenges on the way. Tell us briefly about your transition and then maybe some tips. If you were to go back in time and do it again, what would you do differently?
Well, my transition was a good one. I would say I was in a position to start helping this nonprofit organization. I was also looking for other roles, perhaps in the federal government, perhaps in the private sector. What advice I would give is that it's important to know whether or not you're going to continue in the service at the end of your contract or whether or not you're going into the private sector, and to take advantage of all of the transition opportunities that your unit or your component may afford you. I've had some experiences with service members who did not partake of those opportunities, and they struggled a bit in that transition process. So I would say, know what you want to do. Make sure you take advantage of using whatever academic supplemental support may be offered to you via your benefits. Sure. If you qualify for the GI Bill, use it, max it out. If you're going to transition that over to family members, they're doing some new things with the GI Bill. Make sure that you fill out the paperwork and have everything on hand before you leave. That way it's just that much easier. You don't have to run people down to try to find paperwork and things like that. And keep a positive outlook and make sure that you align with associations that are filled with veterans that may be in the same boat or have been in the same boat as you, because there are so many VSOs out here with people who've done the transition process and done it well, and they can give you advice. You can lean on them and gain access to all kinds of synergies.
That's great advice for that. And I think part of the challenge is, what do I want to do when I get out? The kind of, what's my why? Right? And align your why with maybe something you're good at and target it that way once you're transitioning out. It's always easier said than done. I was telling you offline, I was 30 before my why hit me in the face. And that was the two towers coming down in New York. And it just changed the course of my life. So sometimes it takes an event or just something that happens in your life. So I appreciate you sharing those tips.
Absolutely.
So, talented person, you could do darn near anything you wanted. There was something about Veterans on the Rise that kind of caught your eye as an ability to be able to help those veterans that are having challenges with homelessness and their families. So tell us a little bit about Veterans on the Rise mission, and then let's talk a little bit more about kind of where you're helping folks, how folks can donate, and then maybe some of the upcoming events.
Absolutely. So I want to say I'm from a military family. There are about 42 veterans in my family. Oh, and none of them were homeless, but as some of them got older, we helped them out a bit, in terms of housing and making sure they had their benefits and access to things. And while I was in boot camp, you go away for a while and you don't have access to friends or family. I get out of boot camp and my dad's like, oh, I'm working with a veteran group. I'm helping house homeless veterans to the tune of a very small amount of money. And I said, oh my goodness, what are you doing? But at the same time, I really wanted to help because I was incredibly engaged with the human capital accountability and assessment framework. So it's like an HR framework that makes businesses optimized. And I thought, we need to look at the needs of these veterans, not just housing, but their holistic needs. And so that's what kind of drew me into helping with VOTR. Veterans on the Rise is a nonprofit that provides housing and holistic services to homeless veterans and veteran families. And we basically are a bit of a boot camp for life for them once they've been homeless, right? So how do they bridge the gap between being on the street and being housed and sustaining that housing? What are the ways in which they are able to really just gain access to not only a housing and a housing voucher, but also life skills to take them forward?
I think that's, I missed that kind of on the intro. It's not just the housing, right? It's those holistic services that preps you, right? Because you're coming from a really hard time, and then to get into the flow of life and get into a routine, where you're eating, what sort of job skills and trainings that you have. You guys are helping support those efforts. And now it's in the DC area, Virginia, Maryland, yes, and West Virginia, right?
In the last 10 years, we've been in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. The majority of our housing is in DC now. We're also getting veterans involved with sustainability efforts. We've run some green building maintenance training programs for veterans and also gotten them connected with other positions here in the city. And we're trying to expand some of the workforce efforts that we're doing for the veterans, because we know that if we can get them involved in jobs of the future, the likelihood that they stay housed, the likelihood that they stay sober, all of those things increase with proper job opportunities.
Sure. How are you seeing the job market in today's day and age? Are you seeing any difference over the past 2, 3, 4 years? Is it harder or easier to transition from homelessness to sort of a steady work life and steady home life?
I think it depends on the person. We've had some folks who come to us and they've been evicted, and that's why they're on our doorstep, or maybe they have had challenges with like a family member, that kind of thing. Those folks, if they have a skill, are easier to house and easier to employ. There are others who are dealing with opioid addictions and other kinds of mental health challenges and substance abuse. Those folks are a little bit harder to employ. So what we try to do is focus on like their mental health challenges first. And then once we have nailed those down, the ones that are able to work, we put them to work. Are you still there?
I am.
I feel like we're having a technical difficulty.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Melanie?
Mm-hmm. Hello, are you still there? Maybe it's just me. But essentially, we're looking at what got them into homelessness, trying to bridge the gap and trying to move them forward so that they can then live comfortable, safe, and an environment that allows them to move forward with their lives.
So what do you think are can you hear me? Oh, folks, we're having an Al Gore internet difficulty issue. I don't know. Melanie, can you hear me? All right, she'll be coming back. So, folks, what she's going to come back and talk about, she's got about 4 or 5 events coming up in the month. Are you there, Melanie?
I'm here. I'm back.
We heard what you were saying, but
good.
So what I was saying is what we were hoping you were going to walk through here is before we get how folks can get engaged, what are maybe some of the upcoming events in the DC area, metro area? So if you're local to DC, you can get involved.
Absolutely. So on the 12th of May, we are having a garden build at our home on Nash Street. And it is a garden build with a group called The Mission Continues. We're making a garden for the residents of the Transition in Place program. On the 15th, we're actually doing a fireside chat with the executive director. And information on that event will be posted on actually Airbnb of all places, their social impact area. And then we're also participating.
Wait a minute. Airbnb.
Yeah. So they've been really cool. They've been kind. They submitted some bedding for our veterans for a few of our houses last year. And then they recently rolled out a social impact experience part of their platform. And so we jumped on that. And so we're going to be offering periodic fireside chats with like a Jeffersonian feel with the executive director, as well as some other health and wellness kind of mindfulness experiences. We'd love for people to join us. And then we're also participating in the Do More 24 campaign. Those links are up, and we'll be launching the actual campaign on the 16th and 17th of May.
Now, what's the Do More campaign?
So the Do More campaign is a fundraiser. It's in conjunction with the United Way. Many nonprofits raise funds through that vehicle. And we're hoping to engage with a lot of folks in the community to get them involved with our cause, to help explain, the key challenges that veterans face, and to show them that, there are so many ways to give back. And we hope that Veterans on the Rise will be one of the wonderful places that they decide to do that giving at.
Yeah, and you also have an ice bucket challenge coming up. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. It's ongoing. So we started it at the end of March, beginning of April, but we had like February and April this year, so we were unable to really get it off the ground. So we're pushing that over the next few months. And the whole thought is that we will raise funds through an ice bucket challenge and then use the funds to help the veterans that we're serving, as well as some of our alumni, to ensure that they avoid situations that will push them toward suicide. So we're doing, a campaign to raise awareness around the stigmas that are causing veterans to commit suicide, and trying to help the veterans to work through some of their mental health challenges so that hopefully they avoid any kinds of outcomes like that.
That's great. We had a guest on last night that was talking, and her brother was a Marine, and about 18 months ago, he took his life. And she was talking about what she's doing there, running across America as part of the Run for the Fallen campaign.
Absolutely.
So, it's sad. And it's good, though, that there are so many groups that are focused on this problem. Sooner or later, I look at it almost like a cancer. There are so many people working on the problem. Somebody's going to figure it out, right? And then
Absolutely.
we'll move through that. So I appreciate you working on that. And then don't you have a Memorial Day event coming up?
We do. This is an annual event. We have some park areas that we like to bring our residents to, and we also invite the alumni to come back. And so it's a big cookout, everybody just kind of getting together, having fun. We talk about the accomplishments for the year, and it's just a wonderful time to think about those we've lost and to honor those who still remain.
So how many folks can you support in your program at any given time?
So we serve between 100 and 150 veterans per year, okay? And that's housing them, getting them access to vouchers through HUD-VASH, and then also working with them from a life skills perspective, and then again, with some of the workforce opportunities that I had alluded to earlier. The other thing that we do is we have an aftercare program wherein we're helping those who've moved on to permanent housing that we've served to come back and have that safe space where they can come, maybe grab something off the grill, talk about certain issues. So we're staying connected with them and making sure that they're, remaining accountable and really maintaining the sobriety if that's an issue, and engaging with others who have been through the same process.
So you've mentioned the grill a couple of times. What's your magic on the grill?
I don't really have magic on the grill. Okay, I do a lot of grilling of vegetables, but I know how to make rubs. I know how to cook. I know. But I have one of our
barbecue sauce.
One of our social workers. She makes some mean jerk chicken. I've heard. Okay, and I mean I know how to make some good sauces and some good rubs for some ribs. I just don't eat them anymore. That's the thing.
That's the healthy way to go. We're going to have a guest on our show here in a couple of weeks, and she runs a company now, and she's a vet called Mutt Sauce.
Oh, wow.
And her grandfather and her were very close. They're both vets. And when he passed away, he gave her an envelope, and this was what he left to her, was the recipe to his sauce.
Oh, wow.
So now she's built a company around it. And so wife and I were on the line last night. We've already ordered like 6 bottles because if it's walked on 4 legs, it's going to be on the grill or the smoker. My wife is the smoker of the house. She can cook anything on there.
Well, so my parents are from rural Loudoun County, and I have a couple of cousins that do a bit of smoking of the turkeys. They do the venison. They do all those good things. Yes.
You bet. If it walked around, it deserves to be on a smoker. You didn't hear that because you're a vegetarian, right? So, Melody, tell us, we're at the point of the show we like to call the big idea.
Sure.
The big idea, we'd like to have our guests kind of share maybe a personal challenge area, maybe along their journey in service, transitioning out or as a veteran. And if you had 2 minutes with POTUS, maybe this one eating a Big Mac, the last one maybe, hanging out, shooting hoop, whatever, relaxing. I don't think this POTUS shoots a lot of hoop. What would you ask?
I would ask that we work with veteran and military families to make the transitions even better than they are. We've done a lot of work to enhance TAP programs, but I feel like there's still a lot of military spouses who don't get access to employment. There's still a lot of children who have rough transitions into schoolhouses. And there's still also a lot of guardsmen and reservists who have employment challenges in between training commitments, particularly if those training commitments are very long. You go to an intel school for 18 months, you come home, your job's gone, and it may not be as easy to get gainfully employed. So I think we're doing a great job. I think we've raised awareness, but I think there's still work to be done. So I would use some more of that GI Bill money, make it more flexible so that people have opportunities to push forward, and we end veteran unemployment and, of course, end veteran homelessness. That's
absolutely.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, I think military spouses are at an underemployed rate, an unemployed rate of like 18%, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's unacceptable. And part of the challenge, of course, a lot of the military spouses that have joined us on the show talk about Geez Louise, every 3 years, I'm pulling up, so part of the theme on our show is how do you have portable careers and portable entrepreneurialism?
Absolutely.
And so I'm with you on, I'd love to see the government have some set aside money for startups or for folks that are trying to get a business off the ground that are either military spouses or veterans, and just set it aside, take it out of, one of these programs that have shrimp walking on a treadmill, right? Kill all of those programs off and let's move it over here, right? It shouldn't.
Absolutely. I think that would be wonderful.
Sorry, shrimp. I'd love to eat you, but I don't want to see you on a treadmill, and I don't care. So tell us, and I'll get you out of here on this one, Melanie. What's your superpower? Everybody's got a superpower. What's yours?
So I'm a leader, and what I would say is that my leadership style allows me to focus in on the people that I'm working with. So it's like the gift of individualization, the power of woo. I don't know how you would call it. Gallup has all these different terms, but essentially I can talk to anyone, and I'm well equipped to kind of meet them where they are, no matter who they are. And that skill has taken me far, and it's existed since I was about 2 years old. But it's still here, and it's even more enhanced now that I'm a little bit more seasoned than the 2-year-old that I used to be.
So, and I don't know, probably a lot of it was God-given, but for those that maybe don't have that, but think they want to work on that skill, right, to maybe hone that, because you're always going to be in different situations, whether you're doing what we're doing now, doing interviews and talking on TV, or you're at a workplace, whatever it is. Is there maybe a tip or something you would give somebody that they could practice to maybe drive up their power of woo?
I think it's about, and someone I know said this recently, it's about putting people in front of programs. Like if you literally look at a person and you try to understand who they are, and you try to put yourself in their shoes, then you're more likely to listen to them. You're more likely to talk to them. Whether or not you agree with them, it doesn't matter. You're still giving them an opportunity to be human. And so respecting that humanity is something that goes a long way. And I think it allows for those interactions to grow, and for people to really share with each other. And I find that when I do that, when I just look at a person on face value and let them be who they are, a lot of times I create the space for better collaboration, better communication, and really progress.
That's a great respect humanity. Right? I think today's day and age, everybody's kind of crazy, right? Let's get back to just.
But it's okay. But that's the thing. There are crazy people everywhere, but it's okay, and respect it. Like, let it be. It's okay, and we're still gonna make things happen. We're still gonna, make progress and be successful.
You bet. You bet. So what I wanted to do is, for folks that are watching this, you don't have to be in the sort of the 3-4 state area over here in the mid-Atlantic. You could be in California or New York. You watch the show. You want to get engaged. You want to help out. I've got the website up on the screen, veteransontherise.org. What else can they expect to find? That's where they would be able to find some more information about the upcoming events, where to donate, things like that.
And they can also connect with us on social media: Facebook, Veterans on the Rise, Twitter at VOTR Vets Home, Instagram, Veterans on the Rise 5002. And also they can email us at info@vetsontherise.org. Oh, also this Sunday, if the veterans sign up, we're going to go hike the Billy Goat Trail. So there's a lot going on. I forgot that one. But there's just a lot to be done. And even if people just want to come and do some office work, we're game for that too. So we've got ongoing donation collection periods. There's just a lot going on. I would say hit us up on social media, call the office 202-388-4090. You can ask to speak with me, and we'll get something started. Oh, sure. 202-388-4090. That's Veterans on the Rise.
Perfect. I'm going to throw it up on the screen just so everybody can kind of see it while you were talking about it. I appreciate you, Melanie, taking the time to join us here on the show. It's an important effort that you're doing. You're helping 100 to 150 veterans and their families every year transform their life, right? To really move forward in their life. And that's empowering. It's got to feel great. And I really appreciate you doing what you're doing along with the rest of the folks over at Vets on the Rise.
Thank you so much, Keith. Thank you for asking us to do this, and we are so appreciative of the opportunity.
Sure, and just to let you know, there was someone that was watching here. She's hosting a meetup along with another veteran over at Bar Louie's, just FYI, down in Crystal City. Please come join us. There's about 70, 80 folks there last time.
Oh, wow.
All veterans and folks that are transitioning out. It's a great way to get out. So others that are going to watch this, if you're in the area, Bar Louie's in Crystal City on Friday.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you again for your time, Melody. And folks, tomorrow afternoon between 1 and 2, we're going to go live with the Library of Congress. They have an insane, awesome Veterans History Project where folks are donating their collections, and they have all kinds of information and medals and clothes and stories about veterans that have served going back to World War I. So check it out tomorrow afternoon on Got Your Six TV. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Melody.
Thank you.